Before I jump into the demo, I've got just a couple of slides, not too many, but I'll go through them quick just to kind of provide a bit of an intro and put kind of the social thing into some context. Real quick about NewsGator, I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but we were actually just named Microsoft's Partner of the Year. I believe it was last week. It was a pretty big honor for the company. We're really tight with Microsoft as a company, as a partner. We're involved in all their TAP and their packs, and have early access to understanding what's coming next around Wave 14 and whatnot, and work very closely with respect to Microsoft as a partner. A little bit about me. I think I already did the intro. If you want to connect with me, you can. You could connect with me or read my bio out on about.me/Rich Blank. I'm out there in the public web. You can Google my name as well. So I think Jamie's mentioned questions during during the presentation. This presentation actually is in the handouts attached to the meeting, so you can go ahead and download that. But you can go ahead and ask them on Twitter or on the LinkedIn ShopTalk group. Okay. So social in context, I want to try to just put it in context before we actually show you what this looks like on SharePoint. When we talk about social, there's kind of social media which people are familiar with, and then there's social business. And in the personal side, I think we kind of understand what's going on there with Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all the different social networks out there. About crowdsourcing, information and news, and how it helps us manage our personal relationships and do help with our career search and whatnot. With social business, we're talking about there's kind of an internal and an external focus, right? There's an internal focus where we're trying to revolutionize what the workplace looks like, and their buzzwords are Enterprise 2.0 and communities of practice and whatnot. Externally, it's social CRM is kind of the latest buzzword, and social media comes into play there as well. So there's a difference between these, and I just kind of wanted to highlight that to where NewsGator kind of focuses probably mostly is obviously in the social business space. I mean, that's where we focus on wherever SharePoint is, that's where we play. I mean, SharePoint's a requirement for our product. And unfortunately, most companies, they're kind of stuck in this 1.0 world, right? They've grown with SharePoint, they've looked to standardize on it as a portal, but it's still very very old school, right? It's information push, it's kind of this top-down hierarchy. And in the social business world, it's a different model, right? I mean, it's very user-centric, right? It's about activity streams, it's about communities. It's about word of mouth, recruitment, right? I mean, I want to just discover and find out and follow what's going on. It's very participative. And social computing, right, is the enabler. You've got profiles and activity streams and tagging and bookmarking and all these Enterprise 2.0 concepts. And what we're trying to do here is actually accelerate and transform, how we do things, right? How we engage in these business activities that we deal with every single day. And that's what the social computing piece is all about. And the key concept obviously around all of this is about building community. And the communities can represent a lot of different things. I mean, most companies are focused around Enterprise 2.0 and social media, but they haven't really gotten into social business. They haven't really figured out, okay, how do I leverage, build these communities and leverage this from a social business context. And around all of this is really this concept of community management, which I think is something that most folks don't pay enough attention to in terms of saying, oh, yeah, it's one thing to have a Facebook page out there or have a Twitter account, whatnot, but it's how do you manage that community? How do you engage with them? So there's a whole concept around that from a business standpoint that goes into play when you say, oh, we're just going to implement social computing and all these great features and capabilities, and how you build out these communities within an organization and actually transform the way you do things and how you interact with either your customers or your employees or your partners. And there's just a ton of different use cases out there, within the organization, from HR, IT, R&D. I mean, you name it across, every organization. There's a ton of different opportunities in building communities. This is also true, outside the organization as well, from sales, services, consumer, customer feedback and support. So, with respect to SharePoint, when you look at this, think we all understand the concept of a SharePoint, the portal, and we understand team sites. And most organizations have a ton of those, portals and team sites out there. They typically use, the team sites around document collaboration. And when you look at communities, there is a difference, and the communities are, in a lot of cases, cross line of business. Right? They're trying to bridge those different silos of information that are out there, and pull together people across geography, across lines of business, across products. And it's really people focused, right? It's about the questions and answers. It's about ideas. It's about expertise. It's about the activity stream as the central place to aggregate that information and to interact with it and collaborate. Content tagging and rating and liking and commenting and all the social features we're used to in the public web. It includes all that as well. So, the helping at least the folks who understand SharePoint and the portal and team site concept understand what this community is all about is pretty key in helping them to understand how these capabilities can help them. And when you look at NewsGator's social sites, this is kind of our view in terms of how we expand the capabilities of SharePoint and our our view with respect to social computing, where we take all these different social computing capabilities. And in the center of it all is the activity stream. I mean, if you were to, the first thing you see when you log into, Facebook or LinkedIn, right, are those network updates, and that's what keeps you coming back. It's a big driver of adoption. That's your portal, your dashboard into the whole, collaboration with your colleagues or with, in your personal life, and that's the way we view, social, with respect to SharePoint as a platform. And our capabilities include include social profiles and microblogs and Q&A. And if you were to productize all of that, this is kind of the way the stack looks. If you could see SharePoint's at the base. I mean, SharePoint's a requirement, and we can a customer can provide or host that on premise, where they can host that in the cloud with BPOS, and we're also getting certified with SPO-D. So if you're familiar with that. And our base, what most customers start with is what's in orange here, and they start with microblogging and the activity stream, communities, enhanced social profiles, and we have a desktop client as well, and there's some social insights that go along with that. And that's our base, and that's what most customers start out with. And then on top of that, we've got different solution packages, what we call them, from ideas. Idea streaming is about innovation management, idea campaigns. News streaming is about RSS feeds and managing them and being able to embed them within SharePoint sites or consume them within a user's activity stream. Spotlight is about expertise location and badging and recognition. This is a brand new solution package that just came out, and that really helps drive adoption, kind of foster the right behavior in the system, but also for recognition and discovery of experts. Video streaming is also brand new, and that allows rich media video embedded within communities, or you can kind of build that YouTube for the organization with kind of a community of just video content. And then we also have mobile clients for the iPhone, Android, and BlackBerry, and I believe we're working on a Windows phone for later this year as well. So that's the product stack, and what I'll do is now I'll jump in and show you what this looks like on SharePoint. And this is, what I'm going to show you is really just, this is not branded, it's not customized. Most customers will take our stuff and put it into their existing environment and brand it with their own colors, their own logos, and organize it however they see fit. And what I'm showing on my desktop now is the typical SharePoint 2010 My Site, and this is the news feed. And if you've seen the out-of-the-box news feed, it's pretty sparse, and that you can't really interact with it. What we do is we kind of toss out the out-of-the-box stuff SharePoint gives you, and we include our own activity stream in here. We include a getting started kind of helper app, little web part here, and we also provide recommended colleagues and recommended communities as well. And we also provide web parts around our badging functionality. If you these are all configurable in terms of the look, the feel, and how badging happens. But you can display that as well on the news feed. to let people know where they stand in terms of obtaining these badges. But the activity stream is really what's central around everything that is social. This is the user's dashboard into SharePoint as a platform, and this is where they're going to see news articles surface. They're going to see microblogging. They're going to see events and activities that occur inside these SharePoint communities, and they have the ability to microblog and post things that they're working on. For example, I'm providing a demo to SharePoint ShopTalk, so I can do something simple like that and let everyone know what I'm working on. But I can also ask a question out there into to the audience, and obviously, I mean, with the Q&A functionality that we provide, it's actually pretty powerful in that I can go ahead and ask a question. I may not know who the person is that I'm asking the question, although I may have some idea. But the way I would go about doing that is say, I have a question about, and I can hashtag terms such as hashtag SharePoint, and you could see that drop down comes up, and I could select that suggested term. But I'm not really sure who to ask, and I can go ahead and post that. But I might know that there's maybe one of my colleagues might be able to help me. So I'm going to go ahead and @target somebody. Perhaps I'll @target John here, and maybe he has an answer or he can help me out. So the whole hashtagging and @targeting is pretty central and powerful to the activity stream and social sites in general. And you see a lot of that functionality out in the public web and both Facebook and Twitter. I'll talk more a little bit about that, the power of hashtagging, obviously, but you're trying to create a folksonomy. But what this does in terms of when I go ahead and post that question and ask that question is that the individuals who on their public profile have tagged themselves as with an Ask Me About of SharePoint as a term, they're automatically going to get sent a question. So if I go ahead and if I look at this, my public profile, for example, this is a pretty standard SharePoint profile, although we do include our own web parts in here. You can see our badging web parts, and we embed our activity stream in here. This is a public activity stream of public microblogging that's going on. This is what other people see about me. But in this Ask Me About field, if an individual has a SharePoint as a term, they'll receive a question or an email indicating that somebody's asking a question. And this is what one of those emails look like. I just have a screenshot of it to show as an example. But basically, you could see that this person asked a question and they used a particular hashtag. And then that person has the opportunity to respond to that or delete that email. But what's pretty key is they don't have to be inside of SharePoint to respond. They can respond directly from email, and it will get saved within this within the activity stream itself. So it's likely that you could see people have already responded, and I didn't set this up. Obviously, this isn't this is a demo, but Jack here, he was tagged. His profile was tagged with the word SharePoint, and he received it. And you could see if I hover over his name, a little card pops up, and it says "Ask me about SharePoint." And because I asked that question, he was alerted and said that he can help. And so that's a little bit about the Q&A functionality. Likewise, you can also tag communities as well. So if you tag the community with that particular topic, the question will also get automatically posted inside the community for the community to potentially respond to. So the @targeting and the hashtagging is pretty key. And with the hashtagging in particular, I can go ahead and filter my activity stream by hashtags. So I can filter out and kind of make sense of some of the terms and topics that are going on. I can also filter my activity stream based on whether it's my activities, top news, public microblogs. I can based on things that I wanted to follow up on, questions, earned badges, news, or I can filter based on colleagues or communities. And you could see, within the activity stream, if I want to flag something to follow up, I can do that and come back to it later. I can also share and kind of retweet or redirect this to somebody else if I think it's worth sharing. So I can type in somebody's name, may have to scroll down here to see, but I can go ahead and type their name, and it should pop up here, and that allows me to redirect it and share it with other individuals. I can also like something, and I can also comment on it right here in the activity stream. Excuse me. We also provide recommended communities here and recommended colleagues, and I can see who also recently added me. So that's that's kind of a pretty broad overview of the activity stream, and I will also probably touch on the news aspect of it. So there's two pieces here with respect to news that I can go ahead and add specific RSS feeds to my news feed if I wanted to. So I can add LinkedIn updates, or I can add Twitter updates, or I can add a SharePoint blog. I can add anything basically that has an RSS feed out there. I can go ahead and add that URL and consume that and interact with that within my activity stream. And what that looks like, if I was to filter on news interests, you could see that news is going to get delivered to me. Here are my Twitter articles that are here, and I can go ahead and expand that. I can then begin to socially interact. I can share it, or I can tag those particular tweets that are going on in that particular case. The other piece here is news interests. So if there are particular topics that I care about, I can go ahead and add those add those topics to this list, and simply say I'm interested in finance or SharePoint or technology or something along those lines. And there's a central list of RSS feeds that an administrator would go ahead and add and make available to all the users and to consume. And by putting all these different terms in here, there's a whole bunch of different articles that'll get pulled from that central RSS feed store that's managed. And you see this now, on LinkedIn. There's LinkedIn news, and all I have to do is check a box and say I'm interested in technology, and I don't care where the news comes from or what site it comes from. I just want it delivered to me, and that's exactly what you see here. I've got two articles matching my interests, and I can go again and expand and tag and share that information. So I also have the ability to do private messages here as well. This is also some new functionality, but basically this is it is what it is, private messages, and it doesn't appear in the public stream. It's only between me and the individuals that I'm actually messaging right here within the activity stream. And I can't target a community, so I can only target people here. Where here, if I'm adding a post or asking a question, I can actually target a specific community and actually direct that message into the community's activity stream. By just directing that there. And now I'll jump into showing you what these communities look like. So I'll go into this help and feedback community and jump right into it. And this is pretty standard in terms of what you see with the NewsGator social site community. It's somewhat, if you're familiar with SharePoint and team sites, obviously, it can look like a team site if you want, but what we do is we add our own kind of master page here and include our own tabs across the top. We include the members who are following this community, and of course we include an activity stream which is filtered just for this particular community. So this is everything that's happening inside the community, and I can follow and unfollow the community. So social sites kind of operates under the Twitter model and following, in terms of I can either follow a colleague or I can follow a community, and by following them, those activities and updates by the colleague or by the community will show up in my personal activity stream. And you could see in this particular community, my targeted message shows up here for people to respond. We've got somebody posting something, maybe it's a question. In other cases, we've got a bunch of what are called event listeners behind the scenes that are listening for file uploads and different activity within the community, such as when somebody uploads a file to a document library, and that's going to be surfaced here within the activity stream as well. So it's really all about surfacing that the activities, events, information, the conversations, the relationships that are happening inside the community within that activity stream, and allowing you to interact with it. And under the covers, obviously, this is pretty standard out of the box, but if I was to click on calendar, this is a SharePoint calendar. So I'll have to click on Documents. This is a SharePoint document library. And you're leveraging effectively all the collaborative features of SharePoint, but we're kind of socializing these sites and turning it into a community. We do provide some additional features around, for example, embedding videos in here. So this is what the video capability looks like, and I can click on any of these videos and it plays not only inline in the page, but inline inside the activity stream as well. So those who play that can will see it here in the web, or they'll see it out in the activity stream. I can also post ideas. This is part of our idea stream module, and this is kind of a different stream that you're looking at because it's an idea campaign. And there's different filters based on highly commented or new ideas or promoted ideas. And there's a whole kind of management that goes around the idea management process where you can vote for these ideas, you can comment on them. And when I go ahead and submit an idea, what comes up is if you're familiar with SharePoint, again, this is a SharePoint form because the ideas themselves are actually stored within a list and within SharePoint, and I can customize that, add my own metadata to it, add my own fields, and allow it to be highly customizable. But we also include the ability to manage the policies on that, where you can restrict the submission of ideas or comments, and I'll just say the submission process is closed. Now we want people to vote, so I can go ahead and do that. And what that does is it sends a message here, takes away the submit button, and allows people simply to just vote on the ideas. We also provide some administrative capabilities for the community as well, where we provide some reporting around the different activity, and we also allow you to customize the community in and of itself, whether you want to customize the master page or customize any of the tabs that are displaying here, or change the links on those tabs. So you can see the activity here by type. The pie chart comes up, and activity history, and any notifications that come up, and you can see the top users. And these are just web parts. You can display them obviously anywhere within the community. This just happens to be within the admin area. But within the setup side of it, I can go in and change the settings. I can make this a private community as well, where the activities are only available to those individuals who follow the community, or I can make it public, where these activities become part of the public microblog space effectively. So there's some public and privacy settings, and the permissions and security. Obviously, this is a SharePoint site, right? I mean, the users obviously still need SharePoint permissions to get at this community. And you can see I can change the name public. I can make it discoverable or undiscoverable where it doesn't show up inside the directory, the community directory. I can also enable emailing into the community. So there's each activity stream, whether it's microblogging or Q&A, has the ability to receive email. So if I'm on my BlackBerry, I don't have the our social sites application on the BlackBerry, but I have the email address in my contact list. I can say, I want to go ahead and send an email to this community and ask them a question. And what we're seeing, with some of our customers is that they're actually replacing their email distribution lists with communities now. So where IT before had to add people to this email distribution list in exchange, but now if I want to be part of that distribution list, all I have to do is go to the community and follow it. And here's where I can change the tabs and add them and change the name, change the links, and change the order in which they appear. And there's it's the communities. Obviously, I mean, I'm going to show you actually some other examples. This what I'm showing you here is kind of an example of just a landing page with a kind of a community directory. And here these are kind of the ones that the communities that are listed in the directory across all the different site collections that are out there that may have communities available. We've got a badging leaderboard to display those individuals who are highly active in the site for kind of keep the competition and driving the right kind of adoption of behavior. That's part of the badging and recognition. You could see recently created communities. And I'll show you, just some other examples. Maybe there's, we want to look at this particular client community. And this is just a different way to look at communities and how you can embed them within SharePoint, right? This is a SharePoint team site without our master page, but I can change the look and feel, the links on top, right? It has our activity stream still, the surface activities that are happening. But in this case, I've got a blog as a sub-site here, and I've surfaced those blog posts within the community right on the front page, so I can tag it or I can share it. But those blog posts will also show up here in the activity stream as well. So if I had a wiki page or a blog, within this particular site. So there's a lot of different ways to approach communities and skin them and provide kind of a different look and feel that embed within your existing SharePoint environment. Whether it looks like more of our community, a community of practice with tabs and whatnot, or if perhaps it looks more like, a client community with particular, project subcommunities. And these project subcommunities might have documents or meeting notes or change control or issues lists, right? So something more relevant to those particular, use case that you're actually using. I'll also show you the expertise as well. So the more you interact with the system, the easier it is to find experts, and this is all part of that Spotlight module that we provide along with the badging and recognition. But in the Spotlight module, we've got expertise, and what you're presented with is a tag cloud. And now, if I was to go and click on one of these words in the tag cloud, what you're going to see now is that term appear, and all the individuals that are associated with this particular topic. And this isn't necessarily based on the ask me about attribute in their profile, right? I'm not, even though I tag myself as a SharePoint expert, it doesn't mean that I am, but it's how I interact with the system. And you can see the shorter the lines, actually the closer it is the person is to the topic, to that particular subject. So if I was to hover over their name, I can see something about them. I can click on their name and then see all the different topics that this person is associated with. And it becomes pretty powerful in trying to actually find experts in the organization. We also provide the ability to search for experts. So I can search for a particular term. Now, if you're familiar with SharePoint, there is the people search. You could still search through that normal people search that SharePoint provides out of the box. But this is really about expertise. And if I was to search for a particular term, I'll get all the same experts that will show up in kind of the visual view. But here I can go ahead and check off these boxes and actually compare those experts and determine which person do I want on my project, or which is the person that I really need to talk to. Maybe I need to talk to Beth because she's more of a SharePoint program manager. So it's pretty powerful in terms of the expertise location. And some of the other things that I can do, as I get into using this system, I can begin to surface some of the conversations that are going on. And I can embed these, web parts, again, anywhere inside of my portal, inside of SharePoint, wherever they may exist. But the idea here is that I can go ahead and provide a filtered view of one or more individuals' public, microblog activities that are going on. I can provide a filtered view of a particular community. I can also provide a filtered view of a particular hashtag that's going on. So this is a way to kind of show, surface some of the bottom-up conversations that are happening and showcase that. I know we use this internally. We want to know what our CEO is saying. We want to know what's going on in terms of the competition community. We want to know what's happening with respect to our product manager, what he's saying. So there's a lot of different ways to approach this and kind of mash this together that makes it very relevant to whatever the business particular business case is. Likewise, you can do the same with news. This is all part of our news module, and these are web parts that are surfacing RSS feeds within a web page. And this might be a corporate communications blog, kind of top-down communication. Again, I can tag it or share this information with somebody else. It could be a simple news search based on a keyword like social computing. And over here, these are my subscriptions. These are the same ones that appear on my activity stream as well. So you can create different channels of unique RSS feeds, different channels of communication. You can do it by keyword search, or you can view your own subscription. So you can begin to again create this mashup. I mean, you're starting to see this in the public web. You're starting to see this on tablets and certain applications out there where you're bringing together news, whether it's top-down news or news from an authoritative news source, but combining that with kind of the bottom-up conversations that are going on. And that's kind of the power of this. I mean, what NewsGator is really providing is a whole bunch of unique capabilities that allow you to make SharePoint social, to surface the information inside the activity stream and make sense of it, and aggregate all that information so a user, it's easy for a user to consume it. And the last thing that I'll show you before we get into some questions is once you've got all this information in here, as a user, I might want to go in and actually try to make sense of it, right? I want to visualize the activity that's actually happening throughout throughout my personal activity stream. So what you see here, this is a pivot view or web part that Microsoft provides, and what we're doing is, as this is my news feed, this is my activity stream. These are all the different conversations going on across, throughout my news feed, and I can then drill down and make sense of this, and I can actually, look at it by particular dates. I can, filter it by particular activity types. Maybe I just want to see, new colleagues that were being added, right? So these, I can do that. Maybe I want to, do new colleagues and I want to do it on a particular date. So I've got a lot of different options. Or maybe I just want to look at my news, okay, and I want to look at it news for a particular hashtag topic. Maybe it's, jobs or something along those lines. And I'm going to see the news feeds that include the word, jobs in here. And then I can click on that. And if I wanted to, I can share it. I can, view some information about it. So I can kind of zoom in and kind of make sense of what's going on in my activity stream in a completely different way that's more visual. Likewise, I can also do this across all public microblogs. So even if I'm not following the community or following the person, I still want to know, this is public, right? It's public, messaging that's going on. It's public activity. If it's a public community, it's going to be surfaced in this public microblog space. So if somebody is microblogging on their personal my site within their activity stream, it's going to show up here. And I can again try to make sense of this and say, let me find out some information about a particular hashtag. Maybe it's about social sites 2010. Who knows about it? Who's talking about it? Right? And then find out what they're saying. Maybe interact with them. Maybe I want to connect with them. Maybe I want to send them a message. Here, and maybe I'll like it, maybe I'll comment on it. Maybe I want to look at the person's profile and see more about them. So it's pretty powerful in terms of as a platform that has a whole bunch of data in it that you can actually get at and have some analytics around and try to make sense of it. The more you use the system, right? Just like you see in the public web. I mean, companies like LinkedIn and Facebook, they have a ton of different analytics and data there just sitting there, and they're worth a ton of money because of that. So this is information about your organization, about who's connected to who, about who's talking about what, and it's also a powerful kind of dashboard in terms of giving the users ability to aggregate a whole bunch of information across multiple sites within SharePoint and surface them and socially and interact and collaborate around it.
Thank you for listening to a highlighted segment of SharePoint ShopTalk. Join us live and ask your own questions every Thursday, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. You may also join our group on LinkedIn at SharePoint ShopTalk. That's our group name. And we hope that you can join us. We look forward to the continued sharing of SharePoint knowledge.